All right, looks like we are all set to go. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us today as we introduce to you our new web-based collections platform, Collector. We are extremely excited for the opportunity to present this new technology to you. We think this would be a fantastic addition to any collections team's efforts. My name is Richard Fernandez. I am the Business Development Officer here at Coastal Outsourced Solutions. On the call with me is Mike Smith. He is our Senior Director of Default and Payment Solutions. Mike is going to be the one going through the demonstration of the features and functionality of the system. Also on the call is Andrea Vieira. She is our Vice President of Sales and Business Development. Andrea is going to be monitoring and answering any questions that you might have. Questions can be typed into the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. Please do not hesitate to ask questions as we go through this. We want this to be an interactive experience for everyone. If it pertains to the current topic that Mike is speaking about, Andrea is going to jump in and we can clear up any questions right then. Otherwise, all questions will be answered directly after the end of the demonstration. Just as a note, this webinar is being recorded. It'll be available on our website for review afterwards. If there is anything you'd like to see again, or for any colleagues who weren't able to join us today to view. Just to give you a little background before Mike gets into his demo, Coastal Outsourced Solutions has partnered with technology developer Ladinware to become the exclusive distributor of Collector in North America. This is a web-based collections platform. It's hosted in the cloud and backed securely by Microsoft Azure. Being that this is a product that we actually use ourselves here at Coastal, Ladinware consulted with our Coastal team throughout the development of the software. And in doing so, we really wanted to keep three primary objectives in mind throughout the development. We wanted our collections platform to be flexible, we wanted it to be intelligent, and we wanted it to be affordable for institutions of all sizes. We are very excited about the results. We think you will be as well. With that, I will turn it over to Mike and he can walk you through Collector.
Awesome. Thanks, Rich. Thank you guys very much for joining us. I know it's a lot of the times it's very difficult to find some time throughout your busy day. So very much appreciated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. You guys should be seeing a green screen with my name and login credentials there. One of the things that I kind of wanted to touch on too that Rich had mentioned was that this is a cloud-based solution backed by Azure and all the security protocols that come along with it. Additionally, one of the nice things about this system that kind of separates us from a lot of the other collection systems out there is that you have unlimited licensing. So any licenses that you'll need are already on board in the system, and throughout the life cycle of your usage, you'll never need to request any more. You'll always have as many as you need to accommodate any additions to your team throughout. Also, one thing that Rich kind of touched upon that I think is really a neat feature or a neat component to how this system was built was a lot of collection systems are built from software developers, etc. But when we partnered with Ladinware, we really wanted to make sure that the collection system was built with a collector's mind kind of backing any enhancements that we do. So what we did was we have an internal servicing team that really played an integral part to all of the updates that we've made to the system throughout, and it's their expertise in their day-to-day usage that really made the system kind of above and beyond a lot of the competitors. Additionally, that process of enhancements it continues day in and day out, and any enhancements that you guys or any of the enhancements that we make to the system with Ladinware will be pushed out to you folks, and that actually is free of charge. So you do not have to pay for anything that is done to update the system, which I think is another kind of, back to Rich's point, really something we wanted to focus in on in terms of affordability. So what you're seeing right now is this is the home screen that your collectors are going to see when they log into the system. Where I'm an admin, I have from here up is basically administrative functions. So their screen is really going to view where work list begins and down. Um, so they, by and large, are going to live in their work queues, and work queues are created. And I'll get into this in a minute, but work lists are really created as part of implementation to ultimately accommodate the needs, also to basically fit the needs of the portfolio that's being serviced. And the system has a ton of flexibility with what it can do. So how this would work is you folks would send over a standardized file format. Any data that lives within that file is then we are then able to use to create queues and also to import any of that data into letters that we would create as part of implementation as well. But what we'll do right here is we're just going to basically start as if I am making a collection call. So I log in at the beginning of the day and I have an assigned list of work queues here. I'm going to go ahead and just jump into obviously one that was created for the purposes of demonstration. But the other thing that I really want to call out here is that some systems treat co-borrowers as if they're not on the same level as regular borrowers. So it might have redacted information or the information may not be pulled in its entirety. And one of the things we really wanted to focus on was that both the borrower and the co-borrower are the records are created equally, and this really gives the team a leg up so that they have more possibility of making collection contacts and resolving delinquency issues. So as you can see, I'm in a work queue right now. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump into a record. So this is the customer collection record. And just as an FYI, I wanted to point this out. All of this information, none of this is real. These are all created for the purposes of a demonstration. The information, as you can see, is redacted or in other ways, kind of made up. So basically, when the collectors log in, this is what they're going to see. We have kind of a summary of the collection record here, and then the customer information running down the left-hand side. So what they'll do is they'll log in, see the record, and then I am going to call this individual John Andre. Now, John is unavailable. So I am going to basically leave a note. I'm going to set myself a tickler, which is a reminder to work this in a few days. And then I'm also going to order a letter. These three things in some systems are three different transactions, if you will. But one of the things that we kind of worked on was streamlining processes so that it gives your collectors the ability to kind of work through accounts quickly and efficiently. So in this case, I am essentially just going to set myself a tickler. I am going to send out a letter. You'll notice that any individual that's on the loan, we have the ability to send the note and it would be held against that individual's record, and also it's really attached to the individual themselves. I'm going to set myself a reminder to work this in 3 days, and then I'm going to assign it to myself. This piece here where I assign this to myself is actually a really neat function, because what this does is it now places this tickler in two places. It's assigned to a tickler that I would be able to view under, my ticklers, but it also places a tickler in the work list itself, so that any individual who on the team who's coming behind me working these accounts, say in 2 or 3 days, they'll be able to see this as well, but it's also assigned to me as an individual. So it's really it's done with the hope that no account goes unnoticed, and if anything, it's somewhat duplicitous. So as you can see, I'm going to generate this letter, and then it immediately defaults to a printer tray, and test node and then save this note. And what you folks are going to see next is basically a summary of what we just did. So the date and time of the collection note, who what loan number, who was the user that assigned it, the results, what action was taken, in this case ordering a letter, a tickler date, and then where we stand in terms of any letters that are going to be sent out. You'll notice here that it reads pending. Once we go in and actually print this letter, this status will move from pending to printed. And that one of the nice things about that is it makes it real easy for you to track any letters that are meant to be sent out that have not been sent yet. I'll go ahead and close this out. And then what you'll see is that the note that I just did is already in there. And from here, I push next and I'm on to the next account. So just to recap, what I've done at that point is I've left a message for a borrower. I've set myself a reminder to work this thing in the future. And I've also queued a letter to be mailed out. So one of the things that's really nice about this system is it's your system of record for any collection activity. So any collection notes that were in the system that you place in the system will forever be in there. There's no purging, there's no refresh of data. That collection activity will live on in the system for as long as you use the system. So what you'll notice up here that we have what's called a comments section. And this comments section is essentially used for kind of like sticky notes. So the sticky notes are, in this case, filed for bankruptcy, or if they had a repossession, or the loan in the vehicle, if it's attached to a vehicle, was involved in a total loss. And really, what this is used for is it's high-level information for somebody to basically get a quick snapshot of something of importance that you don't really want to be digging through the notes for. And to add a comment, you would simply hit the test comment or type in what you need to and push save, and then that would be there for the next person who works this account behind me. And to remove them, it's as simple as removing and saving. Really a nice function, because a lot of the times it saves a lot of time for people who may need to know things like if there was a previous history, a major life event, etc. That can all be memorialized in this comment section, and it gives somebody the opportunity who's working the account to have a quick snapshot of exactly what it is that's going on with the individual without having to sift through notes.
Hi, Mike. I have a question.
Hi, Andrea.
How are you?
Very good.
So, quick question. If
Yeah.
there was a co-borrower on this account, would it show on this page? And if so, where would it show?
Sure. Great question. So the co-borrowers are going to live over here. So this one doesn't have a co-borrower assigned to it, but if there were multiple borrowers, there's a drop down here directly below their name. And what'll happen is you'll be able to click on co-borrower, and then this screen would change to all of the account co-borrowers information here. One other thing that I wanted to, oh, I'm sorry, was there something else?
No, I said excellent. Thank you.
Okay, cool. One of the other things that I wanted to point out here is, as you can see, this is kind of a summary of important information used day to day by a collection team. But as I mentioned, we get a full file day in and day out with data refreshes. And behind the scenes, you have a lot more information that your collection team will have access to. Also, additionally, if this person, similar to the co-borrower, if this person had multiple loans, that would appear here in this drop down, and you'd be able to toggle between multiple loans assigned to the same borrower. Coming back out to the queue screen, one of the things that we wanted to work on was somebody, an end user, to have the flexibility to ultimately dictate kind of how they work their portfolio and how they work the queues that they're assigned. So as you can see, the header of the queue here has a number of different data points. And we have the ability as end users to toggle between those data points and sort based on any of the criteria out here. Some teams attack principal balances and work high to low, others do days past due, etc. And that it really helps on the fly to help your team strategize how they want to work a portfolio. And that is entirely flexible based on the information here. It works in ascending and descending order. One of the things that, as I mentioned earlier, there is accounts that require maybe special handling or have certain information about them that may separate them and need to be pushed to a member of a team who has a special knowledge given special circumstances. So what we did was we built out a special status queue. And what this does is this is completely customizable and would be created during implementation. What we have here is what we believe to be a fair amount of what events may drive special status in special handling. So in this case, what I wanted to do is just basically showcase that if this John Andrade, filed for Chapter 13 bankruptcy, I would flip this to Chapter 13, and then when I go into the Chapter 13 bankruptcy queue, this John Andrade is going to be in there because he's been driven there, and now he'll be removed from general population and placed in a special status queue. And that really helps kind of segregate things, and also it helps so that if you have a regular on the line collector making day-to-day collection calls, it helps mitigate the possibility of somebody unintentionally reaching out and calling a member or a customer who's filed for bankruptcy, who charged off loans, or in a lot of cases, if a vehicle's been involved in an accident, it's a total loss. You can really drive that over to members of your team who handle those special functions. So it works in a nice way to kind of help drive people or drive information and drive accounts where they need to be. And then say the bankruptcy is either dismissed or discharged, just go back to NA, and Mr. Andrade would fall back into the work list that he should be in based on the criteria created at the work list. Hello again, Andrea.
Hello again. Another quick question.
Sure.
And this is probably in general, but I guess when it comes to that drop down that you just showed, when it comes to special queues, is this something that a client could do themselves? They wouldn't need to get an admin involved. They can add their own special status. Maybe they have a certain way of flow when it comes to their Chapter 13s or whatever it may be for certain.
Sure.
Something they could do themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. What I can do is I'm going to show how to create a queue, and what I'll also show is that there's a special status portion that will drive queues. So we'll get right into that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure, of course. Thanks for the great question. Thank you. So as I mentioned, or as Andrea alluded to, I should say, we really want this system to have an ease of use for the collectors and collection management. So in this case, I'm going to create a very, very simple queue to showcase kind of how a queue would be created. But to Andrea's point, what you'll see is I'm going to assign it to myself so I can see it when it's created. Any user can have access to any queue, and you can also limit the amount or what queues are seen by which individual. And why that's important is if somebody is working day-to-day collections and doesn't work advanced delinquency collections, you can segregate that and make it so that you can separate who's working what based on the visibility of the queue itself. In this case, I'm going to assign it to myself. Then you'll see that we have a whole slew of criteria that we can use in order to create queues. And right there is that special status. So I would click this off. You create special statuses in another area, and they have a numerical value. And I believe Chapter 13 bankruptcy is like number 3. You would just simply push special status 3, create the queue as usual, title it Chapter 13 bankruptcy, and anything that is special stat or is toggled over with the special status of Chapter 13 bankruptcy would immediately feed into this queue. But you also had the ability to do it by date range or amount past due, etc. So what I'm going to do is very quickly, I'm going to create a very, very simple queue here. Delinquency days are between 151 and 154. And then past due amount is greater than $3. That's just so you don't pull in anything that you maybe don't want. Demo queue. Go ahead and save that. And then when I go back into the work list section and pull up a queue, you'll see that the queue that I just created is there. It may take a second to populate because it's brand new, but it's that simple. You can do this with any criteria in the system. It can all be pulled in and manipulated in such a way so you can actually create work lists either on the fly or at the very beginning, very simply, and then set it and forget it. So really made to have a ton of flexibility, but also have an ease of use where somebody doesn't need to know, basic or advanced programming to make any changes to the queues. It shouldn't be that way, and that was one of the things that we really worked on to make sure that a collection manager has the tools to create and manage their delinquency and how they manage their portfolios. Additionally, and similarly, you have the ability to create letters almost as simply. And I say almost because you actually have to type the letter out or cut and paste it versus just clicking a few buttons. So in this case, you have a number of different criteria that you can pull in. Any data that's in the system can be pulled in and mapped over in the letter, and you would simply either type up a letter or cut and paste and then drag and drop the data points that you want to pull in through the system, and those will all be available in this letter in their templates. You do not do that every time. It's a create it once situation, save it, and then that's available for use going forward. And then you also have the ability to toggle that letter on and off. So really some great flexibility there, and it puts tools like at the disposal of the collection manager and the administrator to make this stuff available very quickly and easily, so the team can continue to work and have the tools they need. In addition to that, the system has the capability to hook into an API and connect to telephone servers and send and create dialer campaigns, as well as if the server accommodates it. You also have the ability, excuse me, to send and create SMS messaging. So really, another thing that we wanted to make available to the team is, as we start to move forward, SMS messaging becomes more and more of a viable collection tool. And this system has that ability on board right now to connect to a phone server and push that out and kind of get that running as quickly as you can connect to the phone server. Speaking of letters, the system has the ability to create what's called rule-based letters, and rule-based letters are letters that would be created automatically based on criteria. So very similar to queues. So if a loan is 35 days past due and it is an auto loan, send out a notice of intent to repossess. You would then create that rule, if you will, assign the letter that you need to go out to it. And anybody who hits 35 days past due will automatically be queued up in the printer tray to receive that letter. And this is just another efficiency. It ensures that not that person or your collection strategies are supported by the system itself, but also on a compliance standpoint, from an SCRA letter to a CFPB letter, the rules can be created as such where if somebody is 32 days past due, they need to receive an SCRA letter, you can just make sure that the system does the heavy lifting for you. And it eliminates any possibility of a miss by an actual human who's working through the system. In addition to all of that, you have the ability to very quickly and easily create users. And why this is important, as I mentioned earlier, you have unlimited licenses, but one of the things that's kind of a pain in the neck about the licenses is if you have an ad to staff and somebody's starting, you need to request a license from a software provider. They then have to send it over to you, and that could take time. But in this case, you simply you don't have to wait. You can work through and create a user very, very simply. User setup. I'm going to add a user here. Jim Jones. J Jones. And then if you notice this password down here, there's a prompt that states password must be greater than 15 characters and then goes on to read a list a number of different criteria. As an admin, you can control that. So what you can do is if your password requires 8 digits and a number, you can make the adjustment within the system to accommodate that. But it also can go as long as 32-digit characters or 32 characters with multiple digits in special characters. So basically, it has the ability to accommodate your IT's policy as it pertains to passwords. And this is all very flexible. And as you can see, it creates a prompt when somebody's creating this. So I'm just going to do confirm. And now Jim Jones is available at any time to log in and begin his workday. That quick, that simple. So I want to pause right here and see if anybody has any other questions, Andrea.
I do have a couple.
Okay, excellent.
Because this is a web-based system, does it have certain access that would be allowed for a web? Like, is there a certain web service that you would have to be able to have this or use this?
No. So the only browser that doesn't work with is Internet Explorer, and that is because Internet Explorer is no longer supported and it's not a viable option anymore. Firefox, Chrome, Edge, I'm sure there are more. But
Okay.
those are the big 3 that I know off the top of my head, and I can tell you I'm in Edge right now. I use it in Chrome kind of frequently. I don't use Firefox that much, but have in the past. It's just a personal preference, and I can tell you all of it works just as much as the other one.
Another thing, you mentioned printing of letters, will they do it one at a time or can it be batched out at the end of the day?
Excellent. So this is the printer tray, and what basically you will see is I can go through, see all the letters that have been ordered, a couple today, few in previous demos that I've done. All they would need to do is hit this all button and then push print, and that would be sent right out into a printer queue, and they're printed en masse. You also have the ability to print letters that were printed in the past. So for whatever reason, if somebody hasn't received a letter and you need to reprint it, or the printer jams while you're printing, there's no worries. You just basically go back through, choose a date range, and then reprint your letters, and it en masse similar to the pending letters.
Perfect. Nothing, someone had noticed, obviously, the Excel button. So if there was a certain, we'll say chapter 13s, they have to be reported to the board. Is there a way, obviously, to pull in Excel? Does that work? Are they able to use their Excel?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, I actually wish I had showcased that. Good catch by the interested party. Yeah, so anything that's here, this work list can be exported into Excel simply by choosing the Excel button. It may take a minute, and then what'll happen is that will then create an Excel sheet, and they would then be able to manipulate it any way that they need to.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
Last one, you had mentioned reporting, and I think you'd mentioned standard reporting. If there was a specific report a client wanted, are they able to develop an ad hoc report?
For sure. When we break here, usually you and Rich send those out so they can take a look at that. But yes, any data that's being passed to us through the system, or I'm sorry, through the file, they will have the ability to create coinciding reports based on that information. So if there's something in the 30-page document or some odd that in that existing reporting that is not available that they do need, it can be handled during implementation, and it's very simple to create and have that thing created for them very quickly.
Excellent. That's all I had for questions. Great question.
No, really great questions. I really appreciate, people taking the time and, interacting. It always makes this thing a lot easier. I know Rich is going to close this out, but if any of the attendees have any questions about the system itself, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm very, very happy to do this again, to speak with you on anything that you may think of later on. So really, that was it for the demonstration portion. I really appreciate it, folks. Thanks very much for listening.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, thank you very much, Mike. Great job. Once again, I would just like to thank everybody for their time today. I hope you're as impressed with Collector the first time that we saw the finished product here. I won't take up too much of your time. I do have some materials that I'll email out to each registrant at the conclusion that'll have some takeaway information as well as all of my contact information on it. If there was anything that you did not see today that you'd like to take another look at, or if you would like to learn on how to get started with Collector at your institution, please do not hesitate to reach out to me at any time. I'm more than happy to help you out.